Need it. If you ever need, I get to.
And welcome back to the Gridiron Address. Back for week 14. Joining me again 2 weeks in a row now, Shannon Smith, aka Podcast Smitty. And back again. It's been a few weeks now, but I always love having him on. It's Jason Calenzo, co-host of Sideline Savants and host, of Three from Deep.
Yes, sir.
Shannon, how are you doing tonight?
And I'm good, man. I'm good. My guys won, but one of my other guys didn't win, which hurts. But I'm good, man.
And Jason, how about you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Like I said, feeling the holiday vibe right now. So I got my Christmas PJs on. Great day of football. Some insane games out there. Playoffs heating up. Fantasy football playoffs start next week. This is the best time of the year. Basketball, college football. Oh my! Let's go.
It is, and starting us off for tonight, Jason, we're gonna hit on your Giants game. They fell just short. They got down there. They were in field goal range. Brian Brisset from the Saints made a phenomenal play to block the field goal. It you hate to see it. It felt like that. I mean, the Giants defense gave their offense an opportunity to go have a second chance at a game-winning drive after they messed up the previous one. And Drew Lock, to his credit, great scramble there to pick up, I think it was 20-something yards. Good on him. But, Jason, what are your thoughts on your New York Giants performance tonight?
It's tough. You know, as a New York Giants fan, I want to see him play well. I want to see him win. But at the same time right now, look, season's over, dude. And if things were to end today, Raiders are first pick, Giants are second pick. I want to get that draft pick. We obviously need a quarterback. Drew Lock is a poor man's Will Levis. So, I mean, he is absolutely terrible. He could not hit the broadside of a barn that first 3+ quarters. Malik Neighbors is an absolute stud. Why they had him out there, I was praying that he didn't get hurt because he is right now the future. Tracy looks great at running back. I think they need another little complimentary back to go with him, someone who's more of a little more ground and pound. But it was painful, and that's the Giant season right now. It's filled with a lot of disappointment and a lot of pain, a lot of just bad play calling. And I do not see Daboll surviving this at all. I think from the top down, the Giants need to do a little house cleaning right now. I think it's time to take the trash out. I think everybody needs to go. You're going to have a top pick in this NFL draft coming up. So it is time to start fresh, get that oh, God. I mean, it's just everywhere. Like I said, the quarterback, we're terrible. Defense, you know, we did all this signing in the offseason and we still look bad. But the offense looks terrible. So, of course, the defense is going to look terrible. So, as a Giants fan, it is tough to cheer for your team when they're that bad. But at the same time, again, I wanted to get out of that game with no one getting hurt and still having the top first or second pick in the NFL draft because we're going to need that top draft pick next year to actually make this painful season worth it.
Mm-hmm. And I know I didn't include this in the rundown, but I was tossing it around. Jason, you mentioned y'all need a quarterback. Who do you want your New York Giants to take if they do go the likely direction of quarterback?
I don't know. I know there's some good quarterbacks out there coming out in the draft right now. Sanders, I'm not sold on him. He may go first. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the Raiders do because they need a quarterback too. So this is going to be tough. First 5 picks are Raiders, Giants, Pats, Panthers, and Jaguars right now. And Raiders and Giants really need the quarterback. I think those last 3 have their quarterbacks, which even with your Panthers, and we'll talk about that. I think they're great, but I think it's going to be a Dylan Gabriel. You talk about someone with a little more, some more game time underneath his belt, a little more polish. He kind of fits the Giants' persona. I can see him going. I'm not sold on Beck, Georgia. I don't know if he's going to come out or not, or what he's going to do. I'm not sold on him. There may be, like I said, they may pick somebody. I don't know what the Giants are going to do. It depends on what they do in that front office, if they make some moves or not, because right now that office has been making some terrible moves. We need to flush the toilet and get rid of anybody that has anything to do with Daniel Jones and get that all out of the building, because we need some better vibes in there. So I'm not sure who we're going to take. I'll do a little more deep diving kind of once the college season ends here and we kind of see where guys fall into place, with Cam in Miami, but he kind of fell off too, and not making the college football playoffs. I think that hurt his draft stock a lot. So, it might be one of those, we pick an offensive lineman with that top pick, and then we look for value inside the draft. So I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I don't think the Giants know what they're doing either, which scares me.
And Shannon, Jason said earlier that the Giants got a clear house. I feel like we've been saying it for a while now, but do you think Brian Dable should be the next head coach fired? And should the Giants just cut him off now or let him finish out the season?
I think he's next. He's got to be next. There's going to be some guys going on that lowly Monday morning. I think they're going to keep him around until, because season's almost done. Like we're pretty well. We're 4 games away from the end of the season, and so it would be like they'd be losing it to get rid of him now, because they got 4 more weeks. I know it's going to be horrendous. I know it's going to be rough, but you got 4 weeks, and then it'll all be gone, and you can go ahead and start from scratch and go from square one. But I got to go with Jason on this one, man. You got to get rid of everybody that had everything to do with Daniel Jones and getting rid of Saquon Barkley. Those guys right there should be gone from the get-go. And I know hindsight is 2020. No one expected Saquon Barkley to have the season that he's having this year, but they didn't expect him to have a bad season either, especially going to Philadelphia. You let him go to the inside the conference. That was mistake number 1. You let him go inside of the conference. Dude is going to have a reason to hammer you in both those games. So that part right there is what doomed him. Even if he would have had a bad season, even if Saquon Barkley wouldn't have had a great season, it's still the fact you let him go into the conference. And the man's going to have a reason to bloody you up every chance he gets. So, yeah, I got to go with Jason on that one. Everybody got to go.
And real quick before we move on to the Panthers recap, Jason, I'll throw this to you. What do the Saints need to do in the offseason to get back to being a competitive football team? Even though they won this game, they really haven't been particularly good all season outside of the first couple of weeks.
Well, first they need to start a defense. Their defense is 30th in the league. They are an atrocious defense right now. And the New Orleans Saints have always been known for, they've had some prolific offenses there with Drew Brees, but they've been always known as they have a really good defense. They do not have a good defense at all. So I think they need to start there, and then they need to find themselves a quarterback. Derek Carr is not the answer. I think he's pretty much done. Another injury, going off the field. I think he's done. So give me that Saints defense. We need them back to being the Saints of old, where their secondary is really good and they have some linebackers, but they have nothing. So you give up 385 yards a game, you're not going to win. I don't care how many points you put up.
Yeah. Speaking of bad defenses, Wayne, he wanted to believe in Carr. I'm right there with him. I thought maybe he could have, but it just hasn't panned out. But bad defenses, Carolina Panthers, they lose another close game to one of the best teams in the league. They lose 22-16 to the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost by 3 points to the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. It's getting frustrating at this point. This team's shown they can be competitive. They just can't close it out. I think defense is a big part of it. They're dead last against the run in the league. Or maybe not dead last. They're dead last in scoring for sure. Bad passing defense outside of J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson. Those are a couple solid players. If J.C. Horn can stay healthy, I love seeing him play. But dropped passes have become excruciatingly apparent. And from the Panthers rookie wide receiver, Xavier Legette, he had what I thought he should have come down with would have put Carolina on the 1 or 2 yard line, if not a touchdown. And that would have at least tied the game, if not giving them a chance to tie it, a play or two later. Shannon, are you at all concerned with this drop issue that we're starting to see from Leggett in the past couple weeks? Or do you think this is something he's going to be able to recover from in year 2?
I think he'll recover from it. It's a mental thing. Most of these receivers, when they drop passes or anything, it's the mentality. You got to instill that mentality. Look, I know you dropped one, but if you keep thinking about it, if you keep staying in your head, you're going to drop another. So it's all about instilling a mentality. Carolina has room to grow. Once again, this is the 3rd straight game where they've lost by 7 or less points, less than 7 points. And they're playing competitive football against competitive squads. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia today. I'd rather get my doors blown off than lose in small margins, because you could have won that game. There was things you could have done that could have won that game. There were things that Carolina could have done that they could have won. So that's the frustrating part. So it's more of a mentality thing when it comes down to it, not just when it comes down to drops, but anything, because, you're there. You're a few plays away from getting the win, a few yards away from getting the win, and they were a catch away from sending that game into overtime. So that's the frustrating part. So you have to instill that mind frame. There's still more time. I think Leggett will be fine. He's getting open. He's running crisp routes. But it's just the fact that you've got to get that mentality right. You got to get a winning mentality.
And Shannon, you mentioned you'd rather get blown out. Speaking of teams that have blown out the Panthers, Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, they absolutely smoked Carolina. I feel like this Panthers team would play Washington super close, if not beat them, because they finally got right. They got some type of energy back. Defense is stepping up. Josie Jewell, he's got a sack in the last 3 games, I think. So pass rush has gotten it together, but Rookie of the Year, that is something we're going to discuss in later episodes. I think Brock Bowers has a legit case. I know he's a tight end, but he's leading. I think he's 4th in the league in receiving yards, or he was going into this week. You just don't see that from
the rookie record too for tight ends. Set the rookie record for catches. So,
I know, just insane season. You got to put him in the conversation, and I think you could make a really good argument for Bo Nix to win as well. He started rough, but he's looking really good. The last 5-6 weeks, Daniels has won Rookie of the Week 8 out of 13. I think Daniels is still the favorite. I'm just saying there are legit arguments to be made for Bowers and Nix as well. But Jason, your division rival Philadelphia Eagles, like we said earlier, Giants gave up Barkley, and he has been killing it. Another 100+ yard rushing game. Should he win MVP over Josh Allen?
Right now, it's close. Saquon Barkley, I think, is 1A. Josh Allen is 1B. It is really, really close. I think those are your 2 leaders right now. Lamar has kind of fallen off a little bit with some bad losses and some bad play. Saquon Barkley is amazing. It hurts to watch because, again, as a Giants fan, we saw this potential. If we had an offensive line that could do that, Saquon would be doing that for the New York Giants, but we don't. And now he's doing it for the Eagles. He's the league leader in rushing right now. He had 124 yards. He'd have more touchdowns if it wasn't for that stupid tush-push thing where Jalen Hurts leads rushing touchdowns, whatever, which as a fantasy owner of Saquon Barkley in a couple of different leagues, it just annoys me to no end because when they get to the 1 yard line and it's 1st and goal, they're just going to push Hurts in, and Saquon, who just did all that work, is not going to get anything. But anyway, I digress. Your Panthers played them really, really well. I mean, Saquon had over 100 yards, but he didn't torch them. You stayed right there with them, and that's something when you have a young team like that. These are growing pains, but it gives you something that a lot of teams love to have going into next year, which is hope. Young looks a lot better. That team's playing better. Your coach is now going to start making some different play calls next year because he's now has a year under his belt where I made a mistake here. Now let me grow a little bit. So you guys are a few pieces away. You've had huge injuries on the defensive side of the ball. So if you kind of fix that defense, get your offensive line fixed up a little bit, work on work on the drop passes, maybe get you another wide receiver. You may be able to find some talent deeper in the draft here, get you another little wide receiver there to pair. Adam Thielen right now is the MVP of the Carolina Panthers because he is still a phenomenal wide receiver. He is a third down stud, but it hurts to watch the Philadelphia Eagles do what they do because they're not like the Kansas City Chiefs. Haven't been impressive with their wins. The Eagles and a lot of their wins have not been impressive. They should have blown the doors off of the Carolina Panthers, and they didn't. So going into the playoffs, if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be a little concerned. You guys should be winning these easy games by bigger margins, but you're not. So that causes for concern here when the playoffs come into town. Are they going to be able to drop 45, 50 points against some of these high-powered offenses that they're probably going to have to play to get out of the NFC? And that's going to be tough. But it was an awesome game. But, yeah, it's Saquon Barkley. I am glad he is thriving like this, though. As a personal fan of him, I think he's an amazing talent, one of the best running backs we have here in the league. It is awesome to watch him. The backwards leap is going to live on forever. They also put it in Madden. That's how iconic his reverse hurdle was. But it's watching him is, as a football fan, it's amazing to see. And I hope he breaks or gets close to the running back record here, man, because I'd love to see him do it. Because I would shove it in the Giants' face. Look what I just did. Here you go. Boom. Drop the mic, walk away. I just led the league in rushing, and you guys let me go because you didn't think I was worth the money. So, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, New York Giants.
Now, Shannon, before we move on to your 49ers game from earlier, got to talk about the Panthers a little bit longer. I've been feeling defense all the way. They got to address defense, but I'm starting to be a little more open to maybe a wide receiver. That's something that I've talked with Chris about, hosted Dugout Debrief, and basically my co-host on the show. But in your opinion, should Carolina stick with targeting a defensive player or go after a wide receiver?
Honestly, it wouldn't hurt. I think best available player should be one of the two because it looks like their passing game is opening up. They've got a line. The line is blocking very well. Bryce has got time. He's picking and choosing. It wouldn't hurt to add another receiver, but, if when it comes down to the draft, whoever's best available, it wouldn't hurt to get free agency. Same way, I will say this. I bet you Deontay Johnson would love to be back in Carolina right now. So I believe that all day long. So, maybe you got to start looking at things like sometimes the grass ain't green on the other side, sweetheart. So I guarantee you he'd like to be playing some. But he going to look at Baltimore and say, no, not going in. No. And then I don't – man, that was odd. And we were talking about it on Out of Pocket a couple weeks ago. And we were wondering why in the world he wasn't playing. Come to find out, he didn't want to. So I'm like, wow, what a plot twist. But I would say Carolina wouldn't hurt to go after both, whether it's the draft, whether it's free agency. It wouldn't hurt at all. Too much is never enough.
But Shannon, moving on to your 49ers, they extended the Bears' losing streak to 7 in a row. They kind of smoked them, honestly. I know the Bears are not a good team, Shannon. I know you feel strongly about how bad the Bears are. But I thought there would have been a little more fight in them with how banged up the 49ers are, but absolutely nothing. The Bears just they've fallen apart. They were 4-2 at one point, and now they lost 7 in a row. Thought maybe they could make a push for the playoffs. absolutely not. They are terrible. I don't know what happened, but the 49ers have been able to keep themselves in the hunt because the NFC West is an incredibly competitive division right now. The Rams beating the Bills didn't help them at all. We'll touch on that a little bit later in the show, but with the 49ers being able to overcome these injuries and remain a somewhat competitive team in the NFC West, do you think that they can make a push on Seattle for the division title? They have games against the Rams and Cardinals in division, and then the Lions and Dolphins on the remaining schedule.
The only game that I do see them losing is the Lions game, of course, because the Lions are just putting everybody in the ground. They're throwing them in coffins right now, man. They're just putting people in the ground. And that's what they're doing because Detroit's on a different level. You know, there's tiers in their tier 1 in the NFC. So I got to say that. But the other games, they're winnable. The Rams is a winnable game. It's a Thursday night game. I know it's a short week, but it's a winnable game. The Cardinals are a winnable game as well, too. And same with Miami. But, you know, Miami just escaped the Jets today. Miami's not a bad football team, but they've just had some times. They've had a little trouble in between that. But I just want to say again to Jason, and I want to say again to AB Michael Davis, I told y'all, it's the dadgum Bears. That squad, and you know, it's not rubbing it in because the Bears are not a good squad. They're not.
No,
and
they're not.
The thing about it is, though, I mean, it's like, of all the ways to blow games, they found ways to lose. I mean, there's teams that find ways to win, like the Kansas City Chiefs. They find ways to win. But the Bears find ways to lose. And it's bad. And in this game, I expect them to find a way to lose. I didn't expect for them to go out there and get destroyed like that. But, I mean, that's great. But Caleb Williams had -3 yards passing at halftime. I said, forget about it. I was like, no. And, you know, he's a rookie. And he's young. And he's got growing pains. But that Bears organization has been an organization that has pretty much hung first-round picks out to dry. They've hung them out to dry for years. They've built teams and put hope in and put hope in there. They're like, yeah, this is us. We're going to go and win the NFC North. No. Not even with Aaron Rodgers in the division. You still can't win. Forget about it. No.
But Jason, this will go to you before we move on. We're running a little long tonight, but what went wrong in Chicago to go from a promising 4-2 team that might be able to make a playoff push with a rookie quarterback to now a terrible team that has lost 7 in a row and is sitting at 4-9?
We don't have enough time for that. Holy cow. We just do not have enough time for that. Where do you start? Let's start with the guy that parks the cars in the parking lot here. We can start with him and just work our way back. Well, first of all, that offensive line is terrible. I mean, he gave up 7 sacks. Caleb Williams couldn't throw the ball because he was on his back the whole damn time. You got a good running back there, and you couldn't do nothing with it. You have good wide receivers. You can't do nothing with it because if Caleb Williams is on his back, he can't throw the ball. So you've got a terrible offensive line. You have coaches and play calling that are just horrendous. You're not doing anything to put Caleb Williams in a position for success. You're calling these weird plays and these deep routes. Do some short stuff. Get the ball out of his hand quick. Do some slants. Make something happen. Do some screen pass. I mean, do something to where he can get the ball out in less than 3 seconds. Because if he's any longer than that, he's going to get sacked. And they did absolutely nothing for him. This is another one of those. The Bears organization as a whole needs to get cleaned out and start over again. The Bears haven't had really a good winning season, and the last time they went to a Super Bowl was with Rex Grossman. So they've shown that they don't really need a huge quarterback play. They are predicated on defensive, the monsters of the Midway, and they look absolutely horrible. So where do you want to start with the Bears? Again, we could take all night talking about that, but right now that offensive line is just olaying people, and they're crushing Caleb Williams. That team came out today and had no excitement, no passion. Nobody was playing for their job today. Usually when somebody gets fired and a team's not playing well and the season's over, usually guys are trying to play for the next contractor. I'm trying to play for next year. I'm going to play hard these last 4 or 5 games because I need to get myself a contract. I need to make sure I have a job for next year. And that team today had absolutely no fire, no passion. Nobody wanted to work today. And for the Chicago Bears, it was terrible. I mean, it was an embarrassment as a Chicago Bears fan. Look at Giants fan too. I'm embarrassed for my team, but as a Chicago Bears fan, I'd be embarrassed too the way that team performed today.
Yeah, I mean, I had some faith in the Bears. Week 5, week 6, they were looking solid, and
I did too.
They've collapsed. It's you hate to see it, but gotta hope they'll bounce back. They'll get the coaching staff right, and look, Caleb Williams has flashed some potential and fixed that offensive line. Hopefully, he'll get back to playing well. But moving on, I'm gonna bounce some questions off of Shannon and Jason and just try and cover on some other games real quick that we didn't really go into too much detail on. First off, Shannon, Kirk Cousins has not been playing well lately. Last few games, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's been bad. He went into Minnesota and looked awful, absolutely terrible, while Sam Darnold was having a career game, put up like 33 points in fantasy. It was
5 touchdowns.
Insane game from him, but the Falcons season, it feels like it's almost over, but the NFC South is not a good division, so they're still in it. Do you think that they ride it out with Kirk Cousins through these 4 games, give themselves what might be the best chance to be competitive and win the division, but with how he's been, it might not be? Or do they give their rookie Michael Penix a couple games to get some reps in his first season?
Oh, man, don't throw that kid in there right now, man. Don't do that to him. Let Kirk Cousins earn his money with that monstrous contract that he received. He changed the money game. Like Jason said, he changed the money game. Who would have thought that it would have been Kirk Cousins of all people to change the money game for quarterback?
Like that?
Yeah, right. And to be and another thing also to a B. Michael Davis, I might be watching this right here. He was very close. He said that Kirk Cousins would throw 400 yards. He threw for 344 and 2 picks. And Sam Darnold throws 5 touchdowns. 5. Who would have thought that Sam Darnold, in his wildest dreams, would throw 5 touchdowns in one game? He did it. Good job.
Jason, Pittsburgh moves to 10-3 after a 27-14 victory over the Browns after they lost to the Browns a few weeks back. This Pittsburgh offense has been hit or miss. We're seeing them pick it up a good bit the last couple weeks. They lit up a really bad Bengals defense, but I mean, hey, they were still able to move the ball effectively and put up, I think it was 44 points. How confident do you feel about Pittsburgh's chances to make a playoff run with their arguably best defense in the league, but a inconsistent offense at best?
They have a really good defense, and they have a coach on that sideline that can coach any type of game. Mike Tomlin, coach of the year, he can coach when that team is humming and Russ cooking 400 yards. He can also coach a game where Russ ain't doing that well, and he can still make it happen. Jameis Winston, and the Lord said, you got to throw touchdowns. No, we're going to throw interceptions today. Sorry, Mr. Winston. You were going to just throw interceptions. Him and Kirk Cousins need to go to the same church and kind of pray those interceptions off. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are that no one can win ugly games like them. They can win those sloppy games. They can stand toe for toe. And again, you talk about revenge. Russell Wilson is playing revenge for all the haters, all the teams that said he was done. They thought he was trash in Denver. He heard all that stuff. He heard all that stuff. So Russ is cooking right now. He's got that team playing well. The team is playing behind him. For Mike Tomlin to take their starting quarterback and do the switch in mid-season like that, and for it to work, and then that defense is just shutting people down, I would be afraid coming out of the AFC playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because if you lay an egg, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat you. So they have a really, really good chance to come out of the AFC and represent in the Super Bowl, because they shouldn't be where they are now. They're not supposed to be leading their division. It's supposed to be the Ravens with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, but it's not. It's Russ cooking. He had a really good game, started off slow, turned it on, but it's that Steelers defense that is going to set them free. So, Mike Tomlin, you're doing a phenomenal job right now. And again, I would hate to have to go and play the Pittsburgh Steelers to try to get out of the AFC, because they ain't no joke, man.
They're not. We got someone in the comments confused as to how Mike Tomlin is still head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And look, to their point, they haven't had success in the playoffs. I think a lot of it boils down to they were trotting out the decomposing corpse of Ben Roethlisberger for about 4 years too long, and they did not have a replacement ready behind him. They didn't have a Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers like Green Bay did. They were smart about it, and it was obvious for the last 3-4 years of Roethlisberger's career, hey, they need to get someone in. Mason Rudolph, absolutely not. He was never going to be good. It felt like that franchise was in denial, and they did not properly address the quarterback position until this year, it feels like. I think Russ is going to be their guy for a solid few seasons. I think this is probably the best Steelers team we've seen in a long time. The defense is really good. The offense is clicking. And Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. Like, yes, he hasn't had playoff success, but
there you go.
You have a coach that can do that. You don't
never had a losing
on
season.
him because...
Say that again. Never had. How many teams in the NFL right now over the period of time that Mike Tomlin's been coach? How many of those teams out there would love to say, my coach has never had a losing season? That is insane in the NFL the way it is today. So that's why Mike Tomlin still is the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he's got to stay. I feel like, I mean, we need to see some success for him at some point, because, yeah, I mean, you can't fail in the playoffs perpetually and still be a head coach, to Kid Cowboy's point in the comments. But we got to keep it moving. Shannon, back to your NFC West, but for the Rams, they won a high-scoring game against the Bills. With the NFC West still competitive and the Rams looking that good against a Bills team that we've talked about as potential Super Bowl contenders in previous weeks, can the Rams push Seattle for NFC West title and make the playoffs? Because we know that no NFC West team except the winner is actually going to get in.
They can make a push because they've got the offensive firepower to do it. They just got to be able to stop on defense. They got to make stops. And Seattle does that. Seattle makes stops. Seattle plays defense, and they held the Cardinals 18 points today, and they were able to defend. But what does it for me is that the Rams have deep ball prowess. They can get the ball downfield. Matthew Stafford's proved that today. But they can also make short plays. They've got players like, Puka had a great game today. Cooper Kupp had some big games, had some big plays today. The Robinson kid, and then the running back that they had in the backfield had big games. And they were able to catch Buffalo off guard on the offense. And Matthew Stafford had time to throw the ball. I believe that they're in good contention to do so. I hate it, but they're in good contention to do so because they're tough. I mean, that Ram squad can go from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat. They're fast. So, yeah.
And moving on to the AFC West, our primetime matchup tonight that's Fixing to kick off here in a few minutes. Chargers, Chiefs. Chiefs are going into this favored by 4 points. The Chiefs did beat the Chargers 17-10 in week 4, but I think the Chargers have been playing their best football later into the season. They're starting to get hot. And I think that Jim Harbaugh he needs to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. I'm not saying he should win it. You got to talk about him, at least what he's able to do with this Chargers team in year 1. They're looking up, and you love to see it. Their defense is first in the league in points allowed. Michael Davis saying the Chargers have a chance, but don't bet against Kansas City. I mean, look, if Carolina can only lose by 3, I think the Chargers have an incredibly real chance with that elite defense and a solid offense. I don't know if Lad McConkey's active.
No, he's out.
He's out. Oh, no.
Ouch.
Lad the Impaler is out. Yes, that's going to hurt.
Hold on. I have him starting in one of my fantasy teams, so I need to.
Yeah, you need to switch that
frantically.
You got to get Palmer quickly. Get him off the waiver wire.
I'm SOL. I can't get anybody else. I waited too long. Oh no. That was stupid. I should have checked that sooner. But okay, moving on. Little distraction there, but you hate to see it. I'm in playoff contention in all 4 of my leagues, but I have to win in pretty much all of them except for this one. I might be able to get in with a loss because I have the most points for in the league, or second most, so maybe I get in with a tiebreaker. Fingers crossed on that one. It's going to come down to the Monday night game, which I don't like that. It's just a little more stressful, but Chiefs convert on third down at a 52% rate. The Chargers defense only allows third down conversions at a 33% rate. This is going to come down to the Chiefs offense versus the Chargers defense. It's going to be a super interesting matchup. Shannon, with the Chargers playing some really good football later into the season, do you think that they can pull off an upset and avenge their week 4 loss?
Oh, they have an opportunity to do it, but will they do it? I don't think so. They have a real opportunity because the Chargers are playing real well, 8-4 right now. But you got to understand, the Kansas City Chiefs are 4-0 in their division. They beat everybody in their division, and they're going to get a grudge match. The Chargers are going to overthink this grudge match, I believe, and the Kansas City Chiefs will find a way to win. It's going to be a small margin. Once again, we're going to be mad. We're going to be throwing stuff at the TV. We're going to be ill. But the Chiefs are going to find a way to win just to make us mad and just say, nah, boo-boo.
For sure. Shannon, do you have a final score prediction for tonight?
I'm going to go 21. No, I'm going to go 26-23.
26-23. And Jason, what are you thinking going into the night? Can the Chargers pull off an upset?
I think so. I think the Chiefs need to be concerned. Patrick Mahomes is playing very pedestrian. If he wants to win this game, he needs to be Patrick Mahomes. That Chiefs defense, I think, is 13th ranked in the NFL. Their pass defense is 10th. Even Kelsey said that him and Patrick Mahomes aren't on the same page. So he'd been getting a little too much Swift. But that's a whole nother story. But I think the Chiefs need to try to win this game, but I don't think they are. I think it's Chargers 24-21. I think Dicker the kicker gets that 3 points and wins, because the Kansas City Chiefs are a blocked field goal, a fumbled snap from being less than what they are now. They should have lost 3 to 4 different games this year just because of some wackiness or some stupid luck or refs or whatever they want to call it here. They keep blaming the refs for the Chiefs. They're not playing good. That offense is not playing good. You have D-Hop. You have the X-Man. You know, their rookie wide receiver. They have Pacheco back, but they just have not been playing good because Patrick Mahomes has been playing pedestrian football. And he hasn't been doing the magical Patrick Mahomes stuff that we're used to seeing. So I think that defense is going to have a fun time shutting down Patrick Mahomes and showing why the San Diego Chargers the LA Chargers, I keep calling San Diego. They need to go back to San Diego. The Chargers are still going to be a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. So again, I got that Chargers winning this game. I think the Chiefs are in trouble. I know they've won the last 2 years, going for the three-peat. Patrick Mahomes, everybody wants to crown him. Well, if you want to crown him, then crown him. But he's going to lose tonight.
Denny Green, I like the reference. I like it.
Rest in peace, Mr. Green.
I'm inclined to agree with Jason and Kid Cowboy in the comments. I really think the Chargers are going to be able to pull it off. Like I said earlier, they're playing good football later into the season. I think they're going to get it done. And part of it is watching what a bad Panthers defense was able to do against the Chiefs. I really think that the Chargers have a great defense. I think they're going to be able to step up and give Patrick Mahomes some serious problems. I'm going to go 21-17 Chargers. Kid Cowboy also thinking if Chargers win out, Jim Harbaugh gets Coach of the Year. I love the love for Jim Harbaugh, a former Michigan head coach. I'm a Michigan fan. Love to see him doing well, but
49ers.
That's gonna do it for tonight. We ran past kickoff, so we got to get out of here. This has been Aaron Schneider, Shannon Smith, and Jason Calenzo. Thank you all for watching, and hope you have a good rest of your night.